let me welcome everyone tonight. My name is Barbara Brown, for those of you who don't know me, and I am the chair of the College Area Community Council. This meeting is being recorded. We're going to just jump right in tonight because we have a very busy schedule. So I'm going to introduce Commander Mike Brown, who, by the way, has a very impressive title. He's our investigations commander and is the commanding officer of the SWAT team for VPD. So welcome, Commander Brown.
Thank you. Yes, wear many hats. My organizational chart hits the bottom of the page, so a lot going on. It definitely keeps me busy. As far as crime stats, let me share my screen, and happily reporting. Looking at the crime stats for this last month, incidents are down, which is good. And looking at the cluster of incidents, obviously the mall continues to dominate a lot of those calls for service. And going through each and individual incident, a couple of things I wanted to touch on was one, residential burglaries, although they're not abnormally high, we still average anywhere between 1 to 3 in a month in this general area. I just want to remind people, if you see something suspicious, definitely please call our dispatch center, either 911 or on the 805-650-8010 line, non-emergency line. Even if something just doesn't seem right, we've had several burglaries that people will put on reflective vests, and they'll go door to door. Generally, they're priming to see who's home and who's not home, and so forth. So if something just doesn't seem right, please give us a call. The other thing that kind of jumped out at me a little bit was there was one fraud call, or it's classified as impersonation, but it's really a scam call. And just recently, our detectives were able to actually apprehend 2 of these guys that were involved in these scam calls when they showed up at a house to actually take the money that they were trying to scam the person out of. So we're actually one of the first agencies, us at Simi Valley, to actually get people in custody, and obviously they're from LA and from other areas. So just remind, especially your elderly loved ones and so forth, there's a ton of scams out there. I personally get text message on my phone all the time. If you get a weird text message, don't click on the link. You get a weird call, don't answer it, let it go to voicemail. A lot of them are just priming to see if your number is right and so forth. And if you get a weird email, oftentimes go to the reputable website, whether it be Amazon, Netflix, and do your account from there. Don't click on some of these links. There's just a recent one where one letter was off. There was an extra letter in there, and it looked reputable, and someone ended up sending a bunch of money to someone that we can't track sometimes when it gets into the cryptocurrency and goes offshore. So we've got a limited window to really get on in these investigations. And the last thing I'll touch on real quick before I open up for questions is we get a lot of calls about the deportations and the federal immigration and ICE. Just to put people at ease, we are actually obligated by California state law. We cannot work with immigration. SB Senate Bill 54 does not allow local law enforcement to work with immigration. So we get a lot of calls, and I can't even tell you when immigration was even in our area, quite honestly. I'm not even aware of when that, and we haven't had any calls that they are in our area. So we get a lot of calls, especially when we're out doing SWAT training. Just recently, people were calling our dispatch worried that we were ICE ICE agents. That's not the case. So just to kind of put some people at ease. With that being said, I'll open it up for any questions.
So I know a couple months ago we had questions about that shooting over near the mall. Are there any updates there that you're able to share?
That investigation is still going. We're working with using a lot of forensic methods. Those crimes I alluded was gang related, and gang related crimes are some of the toughest to prosecute because a lot of people won't talk and won't share any information. But we have some pretty good leads, and we're just waiting for forensics and stuff to come back. But hopefully here in the next couple of months, we'll have a resolution in that case.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kathy has a question.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Actually, no, I don't. I'm just trying to hear what's going on. I've got company. So I'm like,
All right, well, that sounds really good. If no one else has questions, thank you again for coming and sharing the crime stats with us, and thank you for keeping our community safe.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, folks.
You too. So looks like Vanessa is not here yet. I'm gonna sort of insert an announcement in here. Jim Ackerman is here tonight, and he's going to talk about Firewise. Jim?
I am unmuted. Okay, very good. Now I'm going to read this because I wrote everything down and I want to do it. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm unmuted, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, very good. I wrote these notes down and I'm going to read them just because I don't want to miss anything. I have a short amount of time, but there's a lot of information here to kind of help get started on what we're talking about, the magnitude of what's about to happen as far as trees and zone zero and all these different things. But we're all well aware of the extreme wildfires in California resulting in tragic life loss, as well as incredible destruction, wiping out entire communities and destroying infrastructure. These are happening not only all over the country, they're happening all over the world. So years ago, a little bit of history, late 60s, Ventura County Fire started what we call the Weed Abatement Program, which is now the FHRP program, Fire Hazard Reduction Program, which you're well aware of as you live in a hillside home. And that was the first line of defense, was to remove weeds within 100 feet of your structure so firefighters could make a stand and attempt to save your structure during a wildfire event. So things are changing. We're having higher wind, more significant fire events, fire storms, if you want to call them that, whatever. So we're starting to change our thoughts, the fire service, on how are we going to stop this tremendous life loss and property loss. So in October 2022, Insurance Commissioner Laura regulation stated insurance companies must provide discounts for wildfire safety actions such as community mitigation and home hardening. And that's kind of where we're going to be going here shortly. So real quick, let's talk about where the authority of the program is that I'm going to discuss, and that comes from the top of the heap, and that's the National Fire Protection Association. That's NFPA. It's a nationwide organization, nonprofit, and also world-renowned for establishing a program to reduce death and injury related to fires, electrical, and other related hazards. So NFPA, every firefighter has something that says approved by NFPA, either on their turnouts or their equipment, or so they're the center of the earth in the fire world. So under the NFPA, fire safe councils were established. The fire safe councils were organized to help support Firewise communities. And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is what we're heading towards. Firewise communities develop an action plan to address existing hazards, and as a community, work to harden homes and ensure fuel management. Okay, in Ventura County, our Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council provides homeowners with free inspections of their property and structure, as well as provide recommendations to better harden their homes and withstand wildfire. These inspection results are for the homeowner only and not shared with insurance companies or any type of enforcement agency, and compliance is completely voluntary. And that's kind of what we're thinking about where we live up here in Skyline, is in establishing one of these fire safe councils. The Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council can also help setting up the Firewise community. That said, and I just talked to the director of this regional community. They're very busy due to the recent wildfires. Many communities are in line to begin this program. It's taking off like a wildfire, if you will. We do not need to wait for their assistance. We can elect the board, get started, get our members on board, and really get the program rolling. And we do have several Firewise communities in the area, and they're more than happy to share their success stories. Okay, newer homes typically are in compliance with California Building Code, Office of State Fire Marshal recommendations, as well as CAL FIRE requirements. And we are going to be under a little bit more enforcement here in the near future as I'm reading about what the state is trying to do, although they don't have a lot of money to do it. So older homes need things like attic venting, combustible wood fences within 5 feet of the structure, wood decks, ornamental shrubs, trees next to the home, just to name a few of the things. This is a fact. Anywhere between 70 and 90% of homes are lost due to ember intrusion. Vent upgrades or replacement is critical for homes to eliminate the firebrand intrusion situation. I'm going with a 90%, and I've taken quite a few classes recently, trying to become more of a knowledgeable person about the subject, and they really say 90%. So that's what is taking these homes down. There's something new that's going on that we saw at the Eaton fire and also the Palisades. That was home-to-home ignition. We haven't seen a lot of home-to-home ignition. Hillside homes up where I live, up on the hillside, adjacent to fuel beds, large fuel beds with a lot of fuel. Fire travels quite nicely with winds and basically threatens those homes. But when you have house-to-house ignition, that's a whole nother situation. If you look at I grew up in the area of the Palisades and spent a lot of time there. A lot of that is flatland. It's not hillside homes. So anyway, that's a thought that's coming up next. So as a Firewise community, we learn about these improvements. We help our neighbors with some corrections if we can. And if money is available to assist homeowners through the limited funds of the Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council, we make those available. Whatever it takes, our neighbor's fire hazard could become your next fire loss. So we work together as a community, and that's really what this whole thing is about, a community-based organization to try and have a more fire-safe neighborhood. Another fact, according to the Institute for Business and Home Safety, structural and vegetation modifications can reduce wildfire risk up to 75%. That is significant. Where we live here, 3/4 of the homes have been rebuilt, but the ones remaining, the 25%, do not have the modern technology as far as venting and some of the other things that we need to pay attention to, like metal fences and a lot of other things we'll learn about as an organization when we do begin our fire safe community or Firewise community. As a certified Firewise community, we are recognized for our ongoing efforts to make our communities more fire resistant. We will learn about what makes a home harden, how to increase curb appeal by ensuring wildfire resistance, as well as local water supply expectations and limitations. There was recently a presentation, Ventura Voices, edition number 10, between the general manager of Ventura Water and the fire chief, talking about what are the limitations on our water supply. That's a finite resource, and it has to be used carefully, especially during a wildfire event. So they're thinking about that and they're planning that. We'll be able to, also we have an opportunity to plan to discuss orderly evacuations with local law enforcement. This is critically important, is getting the information early, getting out early and getting to safety, and do it in an orderly fashion. Having a D8 dozer from LA County come to clear your streets for fire department access is not the way to evacuate a community. And that was appalling. I've never seen that before. So This is a new world order. I didn't have these types of losses when I was working. So we will find the answer to a question like, what does a red flag warning mean? Who will help the elderly needing assistance during evacuation? Do we know our local elderly? Do we know how we're going to help them in the event they need to get out and they have no assistance? Who's going to take care of that? What is ready, set, go? Do we have a go bag with essentials in it? What are essentials? What do you do before you evacuate your home? Things like pull your mats away from the front doors, wood door, cloth mat, take it, throw it away, get it away, move furniture out away from your house, create that zone 0, which is 0 to 5 feet clearance from your house away to 5 feet. Let me see. How do I document my losses? Well, you start documenting what you have before you lose it, but the plan is not to have losses. Okay, starting to sound overwhelming a little bit.
Hey, Jim.
What's really overwhelming? I'm sorry?
So Vanessa's here now, so I didn't want to cut you off, but I just want to make sure that.
Yes, I'll be done in 1 minute and 35 seconds. No, oh no, my dog. But this is starting to sound overwhelming. What's really overwhelming is being evacuated from your neighborhood by a fire truck because you didn't have a plan, and then returning home to a brick fireplace and nothing more than a pile of rubble and ash. Absolutely heartbreaking. Remember, firefighters consider life safety rescue above firefighting, but cannot do both at the same time. I'm talking about the mountain fire. So where do I start, you ask? Go to CAL FIRE website, get educated. The City of Ventura and also Ventura County Fire has a lot of great information online, and then go to venturafiresafe.org and get started organizing your FireWise community or participate any way you can. Failure to plan will result in failure. Oh yeah, the fire insurance, Barbara asked me about that. I've attended many presentations. All I can say is I've learned so much and I know absolutely nothing about fire insurance. The industry in California is very dynamic. It always seems to be changing. So my plan is not to lose my home and file a claim. I just hope this little presentation has inspired you to become part of solving this incredible threat from wildfire storms. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim. So that is, I brought Jim in because this is top of mind right now. People are very concerned about fire prep. And one of the things that Skyline is considering is starting a new FireWise community. If you're interested, please reach out to Jim or myself and, we'll get started. So
one just quick note on that subject is the discussion that Jim led. Thank you for that information. We need to continually have it, whether we create FireWise communities or not. We really need to continue to talk about the steps that need to be taken, because you hear them once and you say yes, and then the next time you kind of forget about it, but it just needs to continue.
thank you. And just for those of you who don't know, Dina Rogers is an insurance agent and is dealing with this on a daily basis. So she is a great person to contact if you have questions about insurance. I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak for you, Dina. And if you don't,
I'm always happy to answer questions and give people an idea of where to start with things or how to think about some things. And it's a very dynamic situation, and it's going to continue this way for quite some time.
thank you so much, Dina.
I will include the link to the new fire maps in the notes.
So we could talk about this all night because everybody's concerned about it, but we want to move on right now. And I want to introduce Vanessa Stotler, who is going to give us a Ventura College update. Vanessa?
Thank you, Barbara. Hello, everyone. How are you? Wanted to share some of the updates from Ventura College. And so we have quite a few things that are very exciting happening at the college for this month. Last month, I did share some of the developments regarding student housing. The biggest one was the location and of course, the change of where the location was previously going to be built. Where phase 2 is now on this, everybody can see my screen, right? So, okay, great. Where phase 2 is now on this image, it's actually where we had previously discussed having student housing, but that is now moved to where it'll be in the phase 1 area. So that's where our future student housing will be. We don't anticipate any changes from here on out. The location up here, after some pretty much some reports that were done, just was found to not be an area that we could actually build the housing. So that is due to the change. That's where we moved. So also the renderings, I shared this last time, but it's always so exciting to see what this will look like. And this is as you're staring to Ventura College. So if you're sitting on the west side of campus in front of the Child Development Center, this is going to be the future view of the student housing, and those big windows you see will allow some beautiful natural light in our area to come into some of the areas that will be for students to have essentially like open rooms and shared spaces. And then this will be the view as you're driving on Telegraph heading west. And so you'll be able to see the pretty much the other side of the building facing that street. So that's very exciting. We'll be breaking ground hopefully in 2026. So that is the biggest development so far. The other one was I had a question at our last College Area Community Council regarding, have we looked at rents or leases for students? How long will they be? And right now we're still in the development phase, so we haven't moved to that yet. So we don't have any additional information at this time. But as we close out this development phase and move forward, we will be getting more information regarding that. Moving on, we have VC Athletics. We have some great upcoming home games. I always like to show these because it's fun if we can have community members come and cheer on our Pirates. So we have a few events coming up, not only from tomorrow, women's tennis and as well as baseball, but we're also moving into April already, which is hard to believe. I can't believe we're already done with a quarter of the year. So if you're able to come, please join us for these upcoming home games that'll be played here at Ventura College. So a new program I did want to share, and it's been very popular, and we'll be hosting an upcoming information session, is our Speech and Language Pathology Assistant program. So we're starting this program in the fall semester. We've held 2 info sessions last month. And so they were extremely popular. So by popular demand, we're going to have a 3rd one on April 16, 2025. And this is both going to be online, so you can Zoom in and you can also join in person. And it's over by our Child Development Center. So we're really excited for this one. It's going to meet a major need in our local area for speech and language pathology assistants, and also can open up the opportunity for students to then become speech and language pathologists. Another exciting event coming to Ventura College next month is our Diversity and Culture Festival. We have a keynote speaker, Ryyn Grande, and Ryyn Grande is actually an acclaimed author herself. She's written some really incredible books. We're so excited to have her come to Ventura College. I did want to go to our, just go over to the location on our website where there's more information. So our Diversity and Culture Festival is held over 2 days every April. And it starts April 9th, Wednesday, with some events fully on Zoom that day. So if you wanted to view those, we have the full schedule up on our website, with Wednesday having all of the events in Zoom and also some opportunities to view it in person in different buildings on campus. And so we have this full schedule online. On Thursday is where we have our stage and festival area. And we'll have some opening remarks from our president, followed by a few performances. We have Danza Azteca that will be there to do a performance. Bobby Hart Band will also be joining us for a performance on the main stage. We'll have Reina Grande. She'll be, we're really excited. She's going to be here to talk more about her own experience. For those who aren't familiar with her, she was a dreamer, a child immigrant that came here as an undocumented student to the United States, and she's written some books that really discuss a bit about her own journey. One of them is The Distance Between Us. So we're very excited about this powerful journey, and we have a lot of our local schools from the Santa Clara River Valley that will be bringing students as well to campus to be able to catch that. And more performances that day, such as Los Solos at the main stage and some performances by BC Voices, a jazz ensemble, and our poetry slam as well. We have the poetry slam every single year, and I personally know one gentleman who's been part of it for I believe this will be his second year, and he's just wonderful. He's such an incredible poet. So highly, highly, highly encourage folks, if you're able to, in 2 weeks from today, join us for our Diversity and Culture Festival. Also, the map is on the that webpage. I could share that link in the chat. If you're looking for the location of the main homepage, sorry if I'm making anyone dizzy by going really quickly here up, but it's going to be held in the lawn between our LRC as well as our Advanced Science Center. So it's where we host it on campus. Hope to see folks there. Another upcoming performance, so this one I'm actually really excited about. George Melis is it's got really great, like the inventor of the inventor of film, really. We have Monday, April 7th at noon. It's going to be a live movie concert of George Melis' film. So if you're able to catch that, it's another great performance coming up this month. So April's already in full swing. I feel like it's going to start next week on Tuesday, April 1st. And so it then moves into some really great events with Ventura College. It becomes like the most special time of year. We have graduation the month after in May, but in April, we do have quite a bit. I almost said August, but in April, we have some really wonderful events happening, and it's all building up to graduation. And last, I again wanted to give a plug, kicking off August 2025, Ventura College is turning 100 years old. So we are so excited for that. We're going to have a series of events that will be showing more in the summer, but some things to look at. We'll have some pole banners on campus. We're also hoping to have pole banners in the city of Ventura with some really great images. We've been scanning so many wonderful yearbooks, as well as putting together around our own campus display cases for different decades. We're just really excited to invite folks to come really check it out. And my big ask is, if anybody here from College Area Community Council would love to be a part of the 100-year anniversary, we are inviting folks to participate. You can sign up through the website. I think, Kathy, you shared the link previously. So thank you for doing that. I saw it on your notes last time, but you can sign up. It actually provides us your information and we can reach out. I'm going to be doing a reach out for folks, for volunteers who would love to put together our help with display cases. And also, if you don't want to volunteer for that, we have folks that have also offered to provide us with items from different decades. So that's going to be really excited thing during the summer. It's going to be a big project for us. And we're also working with the Ventura County Museum to get some more of those items that we'll be using. So that's all I have for everyone, and be happy to take any questions.
Well, I think you were so thorough. I don't actually see any questions, but thank you very much, Vanessa.
Of course.
It's going to be an exciting spring.
Absolutely. It's going to be such an exciting spring. And again, I hope to see you all at the Diversity and Culture Festival.
If there are any links that I could use to put in the notes, please put them in the chat.
Absolutely, Kathy. I'll do that right now.
Thank you.
I do want to take a moment and recognize our city representatives, our community representatives who are here tonight. I want to say hello to Bill Ayub, who is our city manager. And also say hello to Shannon Fredericks. She is on the Ventura Unified School District Board of Trustees, and she represents our area. So thank you so much, Vanessa. And I do want to take a moment and introduce our next speaker. I am very honored to introduce Mayor Jeannette Sanchez Palacios, who will discuss our goal setting determinations and hopefully our CARP, our Climate Action and Resilience Plan, among, I'm sure, many other things. Jeannette?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the invitation and for having me here tonight. I hope you all can hear me okay, yes? Okay, good. And I know that Councilmember Schumacher is also here, so if he feels the need to add information, I welcome him to go ahead and do so, as well as I cover our the adoption of the strategic priorities and focus areas that Council adopted last night at our Council meeting. And just for a little bit of background, the Council had a strategic priority planning session back in February of this year, where we essentially outlined what priorities Council wanted to have. And this year we transitioned from a goal setting process to a strategic priority setting process, which basically will allow us to have a more focused approach, as well as giving us the opportunity to align with long-term priorities rather than just short-term priorities. And with that, or during that session, Council was able to identify 5 different sections of strategic priorities that we wanted to focus on. And the first one, when I came on the call, you were all talking about trees. Certainly, climate change and environmental stewardship was one of the strategic priorities that Council wanted to focus on. And in this particular area, well, let me back up a little bit. So as we identified strategic priority areas, each of the areas also come along with policy focus areas that highlight what Council wants to focus on. So along with the strategic priorities, we have focus areas within those priorities. And so with the climate and environmental stewardship priority, Council wants to make sure that we focus on implementing the CARP, the Climate Action and Resiliency Plan, that we focus on coastal preservation, and that I think primarily focusing in on sand management, and then obviously having some sort of public input, community engagement, and accountability in that area. One of the other areas that we prioritized was economic vitality and development. This one in particular, we want to make sure that we're fostering a strong, diverse economy that supports both our local workforce, but also attracts investment, promotes innovation, and prioritizes culture in our communities so that we can see a diverse city development. Within this priority, Council had several focus areas that dealt with implementing the Economic Development Strategic Plan, the promenade repair, parking structures, both at the beach and in downtown, Main Street moves as one of the most recent projects that we voted on. Of course, housing and identifying any kind of arts policies, as well as cultural policies and funding for arts and culture programs. Last night, we also talked a little bit about the budget, and we touched on the arts and culture and expanding some of our money for the grants program there. So that is already, I think, showing that Council wants to take a proactive approach in making sure that we meet these priorities. The other strategic priority that we identified was homelessness. And here we wanted to make sure that we focused on county and regional partnerships and capacity building for nonprofits to also get involved so that we can address some of the root causes, perhaps prevention and short-term as well as long-term solutions. And the policy focus areas for this priority simply meant supporting implementation of the housing element of the general plan, which that in itself is a huge discussion that can have its own discussion. The other strategic priority was our infrastructure, and what that meant was basically focusing first on maintaining what we currently have, but then moving on to improving and finally building some of the essential infrastructure to best meet the needs of our community. The policy focus areas here were essentially to continue to maintain and improve the conditions of our roads, our water, storm drains, our parks, the municipal facilities, and again, Main Street Moves infrastructure as one of the newest projects that council said we wanted to focus on. And lastly, strategic priority was public safety. And in this area, again, we just want to make sure that we have the proper environment so that we can have appropriate public safety to protect and safeguard our community with an emphasis on emergency preparedness response, both to natural and any man-made disasters or any type of emergency situations. And in this particular area, the focus was emergency preparedness, prevention, response, and any community-centered creative problem solving. Within the scope of the strategic priorities, staff also plays a huge role in that. Staff in each of these priorities will be coming up with a work plan to ensure that priorities are being met and that they're going along as time moves forward. And so one example with the climate action priority, we've had discussions that internally staff, there is a green team that will be working on coming up with some of the a list of priorities that will then be shared with council, and then council will have an ad hoc committee made up of council member Schumacher and council member Campos, and they would sort of take the lead in helping to ensure that the green team is prioritizing what council would like to see, but also so that we can have an understanding of, can a goal be met? If not, why not? If dates need to be adjusted, how so and how long? And so we just want to make sure that there is some cohesiveness, both with council being able to work with staff. And with that ad hoc committee, having the opportunity where council members can bring in input that perhaps the community has shared that hasn't been discussed yet or hasn't been able to be brought to council fully yet. So just having that opportunity to share information and make sure again that we're sort of all walking on the same timeline and being able to do both parts, right? The public, the council part, but also the internal part of where staff is then driving the programs. And so again, just the 5 strategic priorities are climate change and environmental stewardship, economic development and vitality, homelessness and infrastructure, and public safety. There are there's a lot more information that I can share, that I can send to you, but I kind of just wanted to run that real quick and then be able to have any questions if anyone has questions. And I know you mentioned our city manager is here, if he's got any input as well, and maybe additional information is needed. I'm happy to have them share info as well.
So maybe I'll start. So you mentioned the community partnership grants, and I just am basically sharing information with you that I don't know if you know. I am aware of a nonprofit that applied for a community partnership grant of $1,000, and I don't think you know this, but the cost of getting that grant, which means workers' comp and insurance, so we're talking about not small nonprofits generally, is about $500. So that leaves about $500 for these grants. And the nonprofit that I'm thinking about just walked away because it's just not enough. So I just wanted to share that with you because not a lot of tiny nonprofits have insurance, workers' comp insurance, liability insurance. So I just, as a city council member, I wanted you to know that, to understand a little bit more about how these work.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And like I mentioned last night, there was a discussion of increasing or expanding the dollar amount for the grants program. One of my, I guess, recommendations or requests is that we as council get more information as to who is applying and the amounts that are being given to the nonprofits, because I think the lack of information has unfortunately blinded us to some of these situations that some nonprofits, they all receive different amounts. And we as council, at least I don't know why. And so I think we just need more information to have a better understanding of how the grants program is run. And one of the recommendations or requests that I'm also asking for is to have a third party stakeholder perhaps run the program, the grants program, so that there's an ability to just, I think, have a better sense of, you know, who's out there, what's out there. Are we having the same arts organizations apply for the grants, and they're being given the grants without the knowledge of other organizations? So I just want to make sure that we can have a broader reach, also have a better understanding of who's receiving the grants, and how the amounts are determined. And I think that's information that, at least since I've been on council, I don't think I've seen come to council. And so I think just having more information is always helpful. So I appreciate you sharing that with me.
Okay, I did want to mention one other thing. A lot of these nonprofits search for grants for sustainability.
Yeah.
So if a nonprofit gets a grant one year, they are relying on getting those grants in subsequent years, or knowing that they won't get those grants in subsequent years. So just being, you know, open and saying, you know, we want to consistently use new people. Then, you know, you're a nonprofit. Okay, I'm only going to get this grant this one year. Or if it's something that the city wants to continually fund, I think that's, you know, that, I mean, I don't personally have any problem at all if it's the same people, if it's an important nonprofit in our community, like, you know, the Business Bureau or, you know, MCVC. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, and I think staff is also, they have revamped portion of the application process, and they're continuing to revamp the rest of it, because I know that there's either just closed or it's still open, one of the grants process applications. So I know that there's changes that they're looking into doing just to, again, just I think better serve our community. And something I shared last night is, this is general fund money, so we want to make sure that I think as much as we also want to help our arts community, I also want to make sure that it's not, the grants aren't the sole funding source for some of these organizations, because that's not really helping, right? Because if we run out of this source of funding for them, what are they going to have if they continuously rely on the city to be funding them? So I just want to make sure that organizations are being set up for success as well, and where we can help, that it's an additional funding source and not the primary funding source for these organizations.
If I can add to that as well, just very quickly, Kathy, and I'll go ahead and we'll get to your question. I thank you for that question, Barbara. I think that was a comment that I also had made last night, in where the city is constantly looking to support community-based organizations. And with that, one of the things that we really pushed for, at least I did during the strategic priorities, was to make sure that we had a chance for us to be able to help smaller nonprofit organizations with capacity building, right? Really understanding how the process really works, what can we do to be able to help smaller nonprofits, so that way we don't see the same people over and over getting the grants. And you are absolutely correct. Oftentimes, there's a dependency on those funds coming from the city. And my ask was last night is to make sure that our community-based organizations does some level of funding, matching with those funds. And the reason why that's important is because then the community-based organization is able to sustain themselves as they are building their own coffers and their funding and their budget, to be able to start, as we as a city start looking at the smaller organizations that we can also fund and help them along as well. So it's a matter of more like strategic planning in regards to capacity building for our nonprofit organizations, and that goes along with what I think we're trying to build with these grants.
Okay, I think Kathy had a question.
Yeah, my question is for the mayor. I am curious to know what the composition of the green team will be. City council members and members of the public and staff, or what will be the composition of the green team?
And I think the green team already exists. Our city manager, I think I saw him still on here. It's made up of staff, our energy and climate staff, and I'm not sure how many are included. Bill, are you still on? But right now it's staff, but the green team would be working with the ad hoc committee, which is made up of 2 council members. And then that group would give opportunity for public input and public comment to, as they build the priority list, that will then come to council. We'll have an opportunity to have public input. And then depending on what results from that, the ad hoc committee would then work with the green team, which is staff, to ensure that priorities either are reorganized or are set the way that the public would like to see them.
Have you considered including members of the public from the Ventura Climate Coalition?
For the ad hoc committee or?
The green team.
Well, like I said, right now the green team is staff.
Yeah, have you
it's an internal. I don't think we've had those conversations because the green team is supposed to come back. I believe they said August last night with sort of, these are the projects, this is what we have, this is the information, and then from there we'll move on with the ad hoc committee, and they'll start working on some of the chunks. I mean, if the climate action, what did you call them? I'm
Ventura
sorry.
Climate Coalition, there are
Yeah,
organizations in town working on climate. So I
right.
think it would be a
They
good
could, they,
step for the city to include at least representatives from the
yeah,
primary organizations working on climate.
I think certainly an opportunity for the ad hoc committee to work with them to get input, talk about what they've already been working on, what are some of the strategies that they recommend. I know that they also have some ideas as to what are some of the low-hanging fruit that the city can,
Right.
kind of check off right away. So I absolutely think that that's a great idea to have them work with our council members who are on that ad hoc committee.
Yeah. So
Okay, so
Kathy, the green team already exists. It's there.
Mhm.
They've been working on climate internally in the
Mhm.
city already. And so this is all new to us, right? Because we
Mhm.
literally prioritize climate action and we need to focus on this. And so that is where the impetus happened, where the mayor had allowed or shaped the ad hoc committee. And now we are going to be working with the green team to look at all of these plans and how are we going to bring in our community as part of that as well. So
Mhm.
that can develop into future subcommittees, that can develop into something else. Like this is all shaping up as we speak. So
Mhm.
it is definitely good that we're getting the feedback that you and your community organization wants
Yeah.
included. And we've gotten a lot of emails about that. And I know that's going to be something that we're going to definitely be able to bring the public together.
Mhm.
Okay, I wonder, is there a report from the green team then? That's
There will be.
or
There
not
will
yet?
be not yet in August. Yeah, there will be a
Okay.
report from them. Mhm.
Okay, at which point it all moves forward and gets more public engagement.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Mhm.
So you have a couple more minutes. We are going to introduce Jeff. Well, we are going to introduce probably Peter Shade in about 5 minutes. But if you wanted to talk about anything, oh, Joanne has a question. Joanne? Are you muted, Joanne? Right. Well, maybe she stepped away.
I didn't.
Okay.
There you are. Okay.
There I am. Okay. This is a little bit off the subject, but I see Patty's name is on the screen. And I met Patty and her husband Val at Mr. Softy last Saturday. And we went to meet the mayor and Doug Halter, and there was nobody there. So I emailed Doug and he said, whoops, they postponed it, or you postponed it. And so I just want Patty to know that Doug said you'd be there this Saturday. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and we apologize for that.
Okay.
It was announced that March 22nd was going to be the date. And when in reality it was March 29th. So that was our mistake for announcing it on the wrong date. But we'll be there this Saturday from 12 to 2 at
Okay.
Mr. Softy's. Yes.
I hope Patty has heard this because I don't know her last name,
Oh, okay.
but she's on the screen. So thank you very much. We'll see you Saturday.
Thank you, Joanne. And I think I just wanted to reiterate that the staff will be with all the strategic priorities that I mentioned, the 5 different strategic priorities. There's an annual work plan that staff will be coming up with. Again, just to make sure that they're in line with the priorities that council set. So every year we'll have an update and maybe sooner, depending on the situation, but we will be having consistent updates to ensure that our priorities are being met.
In addition to that, last night we also approved with Councilmember McReynolds's amendment to the motion is to make sure that even the committees and also the
The
commissioners,
councils.
right. Did you want to talk about that, Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember McReynolds recommended that all the committees, boards, commissions, community councils, that everyone had the opportunity to also have that information and make sure that they were also being given a heads up as to what was coming up.
And that's helpful because the commissioners and the subcommittees can all work towards all of the strategic priorities, and we're all, not spread out. We're all very focused on helping the goals that needs to happen for the next. It's a couple years, but we are focused on these goals for the next year.
These goals go from July 1st of 2025 through, I'm looking for the date, I believe it's 2029, but I want to make sure that I have, I'm sorry. So the strategic priority period is from July 1st, 2025 to July 30th, 2029. And then the focus areas that have a much broader priority or information within the priorities, those will go from July 1st, 2025 through June of 2027. And that's probably because we would be hitting up against the next time we kick off the strategic priorities again.
So there'll be an annual update on progress. The individual goals underneath the strategic priorities will be a 2-year span, and the strategic priorities will continue for 4 years? Okay, so main priorities, 4 years, individual goals underneath the priorities, 2 years with annual review.
Yes, and it could be sooner than the year, but we did say annual for now. There is a one sheet that I wanted that I can send to you, Kathy. That was part of the staff report last night in the agenda item. If you guys don't have it, I'm more than happy to share it with either Kathy or Barbara, so that people can have the one sheet of what the priorities are and what the focus areas within those priorities are.
And it's in the staff report from last night.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry I missed last night, but had to miss.
That's okay.
Okay,
So
thanks.
I think based on what Kathy just said, and if you look at the audience, the bulk of people that are here tonight don't attend the city council meetings. That is in part why they come here. So it's helpful if you sort of assume that they weren't there and you are reporting for, because they weren't there.
Sure.
Also, I think a lot of times we get the assumption that, like, one of the reasons I didn't say CARP is because so many people don't know what CARP is. So, or I, said the full title, then CARP. But anyway, I think a lot of times we'll have people come talk to us who assume that everybody in the audience goes to all the meetings, and they really don't. Did you have anything further, Mayor?
I don't, but I will be putting that one sheet. I think I can share it in the chat, in addition to sending it to you as well.
Well, thank you so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate the fact that you're here and that you're sharing this information with us. It is one of my big hopes that we don't give the climate lip service. Like we seem to, at the goal setting sessions, we seem to say, yes, this is important. And then the whole year goes by and there doesn't ever seem be anything that we talk about, significant. So I hope this year it's different. I sure would like to see that. Anyway, thank you.
I agree. Thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
Okay, so next I would like to, Peter, are you speaking on behalf of Jeff?
Yeah, I'll be speaking as well as a couple other members of Public Works who I'll introduce.
Okay, so I would like to introduce you. This is Peter Shade. He is with Public Works, and he's going to be talking about the Telegraph Road repaving project and the Southern California Edison light conversion and also downtown parking. Peter?
Thanks for inviting me, Barbara. This is not only my home district, but the district I grew up in. So glad to be here and join you. I'm going to share my screen now. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're here for a capital project update. I'm the city engineer. I report to the Public Works Director, Charlie Ebling, whose name you see at the bottom of this slide. And I'm joined here tonight by Luis Mejia, as well as Travis Gonzalez. They're going to share parts of their presentation, which I'll get into right now. Oh, there we go. Okay, so here are the topics that we're going to run through, and I'll have to admit, we're going to run through them pretty rapidly, but we'll have time for questions at the end. So all of these items have a huge amount of detail behind them that, frankly, if we were to go into all that detail up front, we'd probably be here till 10 o'clock. So we'll just go through these items. That's the Southern California Edison LED streetlight conversion. We'll talk a little bit about the council agreement with SCE, as well as the project start date, our Telegraph Road project update. So as you know, we had a water project that was just completed a couple of months ago, and the next phase of work on Telegraph is a resurfacing project, which Travis will go into, and then we have some issue with sidewalk on Whittier Street. Luis will go through that. We'll talk about the repairs of the sidewalk, the needed removal of trees to do that, and new trees that will be added. And then lastly, I'll touch upon the downtown parking changes and kind of where we stand on those and what the next steps are, so you'll know how you can participate in that moving forward. So on February 25th, our council approved an agreement with SCE to convert the high pressure sodium fixtures that we currently have with LED fixtures for all the SCE owned Cobra head fixtures. So these are the fixtures that are on, I would say, probably all of the lights that we have in the college area district. And they currently are high pressure sodium, so they have a very orange colored light. And I know that some people like them that may ask questions or comment later. These will be replaced by LED fixtures. The benefits of these LED fixtures are that the light is much more focused on the target area, so there'll be much less bleeding into front yards or homes. Fixtures are dark sky compliant, and they're energy efficient. There'll be minimal installation impact. They take about 10 minutes, according to SCE, for each fixture to be installed. And so they'll be moving through our neighborhoods and along our larger streets very quickly. And then finally, there's a reduced cost to the city to pay for our annual cost of streetlights, which was a significant motivator in taking a look at a streetlight conversion. The fixture characteristics are they're a slim profile. They're a brand name Evolve that was previously with GE. It looks like they might have been split off to their own company recently this month, but they're basically that GE technology that's being licensed out currently. It's 2700 Kelvin light colors, so this is the warmest color that commercially is available that SCE uses. So It's definitely going to be cooler than the high pressure sodium, which is about 1900 to 2200 Kelvin, but it is the warmest available. On the major streets, like the arterials and collectors, so Telegraph would be an example of a arterial. Ashwood, say between Telegraph and Loma Vista, would be a collector. Those will be like for like. Now, I say like for like because it's not LED are much more efficient, and so as an example, a 70-watt high pressure sodium would be a 29-watt LED like for like. On the residential streets, our council approved using 22-watt or a lower wattage for the LED fixtures, so a like for like. And most residential streets are currently 70-watt high pressure sodium. Those like for like would be 29. Our council recommended and approved using 22 watts. So although the fixture will be definitely a little bit a cooler color than currently the high pressure sodium, they're also going to be stepped down in wattage, and that will definitely reduce the amount of light on our streets for those that might be concerned about the LED change. The project is expected to start in April. SCE is chomping at the bit to get this done. And they expect the project to take a few months to complete. They don't generally install a lot of 22 watt. The 29 watt is generally their standard lower wattage. And so they'll be placing an order for a number of 22 watt fixtures. And so there might be, we expect what to happen is that the major streets will be installed first. And then once that shipment of 22 watt fixtures is delivered, then they'll move to the residential areas. There is an opportunity for shielding of these fixtures. You can see in the graphic here. It sounds sort of high tech when you talk about shielding. It's pretty basic. They just screw on a piece of painted metal that basically blocks the fixture, and that's the way it is with the high pressure sodium today as well. And so shields will be replaced where they currently exist. I know, and SC has indicated that oftentimes when roads are curvy or at T intersections, areas that are sort of unique, is where they have the most issues with light bleeding into yards and into homes. And so there are locations currently where there are shields. Those will be replaced if they currently exist with these new fixtures. And after the fixtures are installed, if residents are unhappy with some of the light casting into their yard or home, they'll be able to call the city, and we'll come out and look at it with you, and then request SCE to put a shield on. If that shield is put on while they're doing the installation around the city, which again is going to take a few months, they will add those shields at no cost to the resident. After, say, after the installation is complete, we're 6-9 months down the road, and the resident then brings it forward, it would be a $200 to $300 charge that SC would invoice to the resident before doing that work. Here before you is the City of Ventura website. I'm not sure if it's live. We're very close to going live if it's not, but the website shown on the screen here is the one you can go to get more information. We'll be updating that periodically. We're just really getting rolling. Council approved the agreement with SCE on February 25th, so just about a month ago, and so things are still wheel is still getting moving. Also, there's a QR code that you see on this screen related to that as well. So now I'll ask Travis to go ahead and start to speak, and I can move the slide forward. Travis, when you're ready, let me know to talk about the pavement resurfacing project on Telegraph.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Travis Gonzalez, Senior Civil Engineer with the Capital Design Division in Public Works, and the project manager for Telegraph Road resurfacing. What we're showing right here, this is just kind of the general project extents of the resurfacing. It's a fairly long stretch. We'll be doing 1.75 miles from Ashwood on the western side of the college campus. So we'll be including that intersection, Ashwood, and all the way down to Hill Road, and we'll be including Hill Road as well. And you can go to the next slide. So the main scope of work and the bulk of work for this project is going to be resurfacing. And when I say resurfacing, we're going to be taking the top 2 to 3 inches of roadway and actually milling that down, and we'll be replacing it with 2 to 3 inches of hot mix rubberized asphalt along the whole extent of the project. But in addition to that, some of the scope of work that we're including in this project is some full depth pavement repairs where appropriate. So we've identified quite a few locations on this stretch where even if you were to resurface just the top few inches, you would still have issues lower down. You know, there's a failed trend where we have damages or breaks that travel further than those top few inches. So we'll be taking those sections, and we'll be doing a full depth repaving of at least 8 inches of new asphalt. We'll also be doing median beautification efforts. So we've been coordinating this effort with our Parks and Rec division on implementing some new updated design to the medians. We're going to be replicating part of this project. If you drive down Victoria North and as you're passing Buena High School, right before you hit Telegraph, there's a median that has some landscaping that's drought resistant, and it has boulders and some river rock. So we'll be doing that same median design on wherever we can on this median for Telegraph along the whole stretch of the project. I think the efforts, you know, due to budget, are going to be focused mainly on the ends, on the skinnier parts of the median, and we'll be reusing some of the old planter boxes with new drought resistant landscaping. And all of this has kind of been coordinated with the Parks Department. Like all resurfacing projects, we're going to be doing ADA compliance for intersection corner ramps and sidewalks. This long stretch has over 40 ADA ramps that we'll be needing to do for this, as well as quite a few sidewalk disruptions. So we'll be taking care of that as well. Curb and gutter repairs, wherever there's been tree uplifting on the curb and gutter or some settling, we repair that. In addition, there's the bus travel and the bus stops has seen quite a bit of damage, and so we'll be actually thickening and putting a more hefty curb and gutter at those bus stops in an attempt to try to lessen those damages in the future. And then we'll also be doing tree plantings in the empty tree wells, and that's going to be coordinated through the Parks Department. They'll come out when our contractors finished up with the tree wells. With the empty tree wells, we'll actually be wherever appropriate, we'll be actually expanding those to allow for a larger tree well, in an effort to not have so much sidewalk disruptions in the future. So we'll be expanding those tree wells, and we'll have Parks and Rec come in after our contractor works on those and planting new trees. And there's a lot more work to this, but those are kind of the major parts of this project. I'm sure you're all happy to hear that this project's going to be bid. We're going to be posting it to our online bidding platform next week. So I guess March is maybe not as appropriate as maybe April 2025, but nevertheless, we'll be starting construction this summer of 2025. If you go to the next slide, Luis in our transportation department is going to talk about some of the striping changes on Telegraph.
Hi, my name is Luis. I'm one of the transportation engineers for the city. So we'll be restriping the Telegraph Road between Ashwood to Hill Road. The project will add bike lanes, crosswalks, bus bike lanes as shown in the picture on the right. And also, if the road allows, we'll be installing buffers as well to separate the vehicles from the bikes. In addition, we'll be removing parking on Telegraph Road between Day Road and Wake Forest on the north side and the south side as well. Next slide, please. Another project that we currently have in design is a Whittier Street sidewalk improvements. We will be repairing sidewalks, removing trees, replacing curb and gutter, and also we'll be adding new trees as well. The project limits is between Dean Drive. The project limits is on Whittier Street between Dean Drive and University Avenue. Regarding the new tree, the Parks Department will decide on the new type of tree. And also, if you go to the next slide as well. As you can see, there's issues. On the left, there's ponding issues. So there's a lot of drainage that the water won't flow to the gutters and it will just sit there. And on the right, it's just a big sidewalk disruption, which causes a lot of issues. And that's it for my next slide. And I'll go back to Peter.
Okay, so just one slide here on the downtown parking changes. So for those of you that have been following it, there's been a lot of presentations to council made over the last 2 years about paid parking. A lot of this is rooted in the downtown specific plan that that requires once we have about 80% occupancy in our parking downtown on a regular basis to start looking at additional parking resources. It also has the goal of about 85% utilization, so that there's always some parking available for those people that are looking for parking. So at February 11, 2025 council meeting, council directed staff to return on June 10th with the following directives: to request the approval of a consultant contract to work on expanded paid parking. There would be a number of things in this scope. Public outreach, there would be development of an employee and residential permit program, and we would be changing the paid parking to a license plate recognition that would help with enforcement, but it would also help for the payment of paid parking for those that use the paid parking by using the Park Mobile app on your phone. Also, council requests that we come back for approval of a consultant contract to complete a parking utilization study. So currently, city staff as well as downtown Ventura partner staff have done taken information on occupancy of our parking at various times to get an idea of how much parking is available. That doesn't tell you how long somebody is parked in a certain spot. Are they park in the morning or are they parked there 24 hours a day because it's free parking? This utilization study would tell us more information about, whether people are coming and going or just these spots are being occupied over longer periods of time. And it would also give an idea of what, how many hours of the day on weekdays and on the weekend are parking in downtown, what percentage of that is being utilized. And then lastly, we were asked to come back and to provide options for adding parking resources as they pertain to the downtown specific plan. So currently downtown specific plan really directs the city to, as I said, to at 80% utilization to begin to look at new parking resources. That can take a lot of different forms, but based on a council's direction, they may choose to amend that specific plan or change that requirement. That will obviously also be informed by the utilization study and further information. So at that June 10th, the public works staff, Jeff, Charlie, Evelyn, and I will probably all be there at the table presenting more information and kind of what the plan would look like, so that council would have a good idea of how often we'd be back before council with updates, as well as what the off-ramps would be to change or to not change current paid parking, and to hopefully move this forward to a final decision in the coming 12 months or so. So with that, I can stop sharing the screen. We're obviously Luis and Travis and I are all available for questions if you have any.
I'll start again. My question is, you mentioned the shields will be installed we're talking about the light poles. I'm talking about the shields will be installed at no charge during the conversion, and after that it'll be $200-300 per shield. Is the system set up so people can apply for a shield right now, or if it's not set up yet, do you know when that system will be set up?
Yeah, so once the fixture and really this is being set up for people that have street lights in front of their homes. So, it's not really set up for somebody that says, I don't like the street light, up the street from me in front of somebody else's home. But if a street light fixture is LED fixture is converted, and that resident that is in that light is in front of their house believes that light is bleeding into their yard or into their residential structure, and would like to get a shield, then we'll come out and take a look at it with you, and then we'll then pass on to SCE to go ahead and do that. We currently are not set up to take those requests prior to the conversion. So that would be a during the conversion process. So many, I don't think will realize that they've had the conversion until the light goes on. They look outside and something looks a little different. And once that because as I said, that they're telling us it'll only take about 10 minutes per fixture. So as they're going through residential areas and installing these 22-watt fixtures, you know, they might, I think there's something on the ground they need to do, and then somebody will be lifted up to where the fixture is, and then they'll replace it, and it's about a 10-minute process. So if you're either not home or you work away from home, you might not even realize the fixture has been converted as you approach your yard during the day. But if you have something, if you see something and you're concerned about it after it's in place, we certainly will come out and look at it and pass it on to SCE. John King, who is the project manager for the conversion, they have replaced about 370,000 fixtures within their service area, convert them from high pressure sodium to LED. He said that most cities, there's usually only about a half a dozen fixtures that that shields are put in. That's his experience. That's what he's told us. So, his belief as a representative of SCE is that most people will not feel the need to ask for any shielding. As I said, the light is much more focused. I went out and looked at it. We have a few fixtures in the city of Ventura already, and there's much less bleeding of light into yards and into front and backyards from fixtures. These LED fixtures are much more focused on the sidewalk and street, which is where obviously we want the light to be. And so so that's how that would work. And there is more information on or there will be on the website once it goes live, if it hasn't already today. But I expect the website to go live before the end of the week.
So to put you at ease, I'm not thinking about shields on, I'm just talking about myself. So we have a utility pole in front of our house that does a good job of lighting our trash cans and also our street, but it also bleeds pretty heavily into 2 of our bedrooms. And it was too bright the way it is, and I am concerned that the new lights are even going to be brighter, so that reporting about the wattage versus the brightness of the light is very helpful. But I didn't want to stress you out. I'm not talking about a whole neighborhood. I'm just like this one light pole.
Yeah. And SCE, they make the offer that they've made the offer that if a request is made after the installation of the fixture, that they'll come back and they'll put a shield in. I to be honest with you, I believe that they make that offer believing that there won't be that many requests. So I think obviously there will be a difference in the color of the light, and I think you will notice that. But again, the light fixtures are being stepped down wattage, so it'll be kind of technical, but the lumens that a light produces will be much lower than what you currently have with the high pressure sodium, and it'll be just more focused on the sidewalk and the street in front of your home. And I have a fixture in front of my house too, so I understand the concern.
Well, I know a lot of people, especially in the Ventura Hills area above the city, just paint them black because they don't want them going into the bedrooms. Are you guys going to change out the old school light fixtures, the traditional light fixtures that are already on the streets?
Are you talking about the decorative fixtures or?
They light the street. They're just shaped like the 1920s lights.
Yeah, those are called decorative fixtures. SCE does have some of those. Not all the street lights in the city are owned by SCE. Some are owned by the city. And some of the ones, like some of the fixtures north of Ventura High School, those decorative fixtures, those are owned by the city. So SCE has indicated that the decorative light fixtures that they own, they will be changing out over the next couple of years. And I should note that SCE is already replacing our fixtures with LED. So they are not buying and stocking high pressure sodium fixtures any longer. They do have a few that are in storage in their warehouse, but generally speaking, the fixtures that they're replacing for burned out high pressure sodium are being replaced with LED currently.
Carol has a question.
Carol, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I drive Telegraph and Victoria every day, and maybe this is a question for Travis. I'm pleased to know they're going to make so many improvements, but we've been going through this for a couple of years now, putting the water pipe in, and I'm happy that it's happening. But one question is the water pipe totally finished now? And the last important question is, what year do you think the Telegraph Road itself will be completely paved and ready to drive from Victoria to Main Street?
Well, I can say that the water line project is done. We did strategize to wait to pave Telegraph until that project was complete so that we didn't have any utility trenches in our new asphalt. So
I knew that.
yeah. And then in terms of this project itself, we'll start construction in summer, and so pavement will be, usually we typically have about 6-month contract length. So by the end of the year, this project should be wrapped up. I'm not sure the other extents of Telegraph that you're mentioning. I'd have to see what our pavement plan.
Yeah, I don't think there are any plans to do any resurfacing on our 5-year outlook between Ashwood and Main Street, and those, I think that generally that reaches is a pretty good pavement condition.
Excuse me, are you saying that you don't have any plans for the next 5 years to pave?
Between Ashwood and Main?
Huh?
Between Ashwood and Main.
Okay, how about Ashwood and Main? How about Victoria and Ashwood?
Yeah, this project is from Hill Road all the way to Ashwood.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the date.
This is from Hill to Ashwood, this project.
Yes, I didn't hear the DATE, the date. That might.
The date when it would start?
Well, when it'll start and when it'll finish.
Okay, so so we're going to be bidding out starting next week, and then we have to open bids. We have to go to council to request award because it'll be a substantial amount of money, and then there'll be a contractual issues that need to be resolved with the contractor executing a contract. But we expect there to be work beginning this summer. That will initially start with a lot of the concrete work. So a lot of the access ramps that go, for ADA compliance, and then the pavement would probably come later, probably in the fall.
So you think that it'll start by December of 2025?
We think it'll start in the summer. It'll likely be later in the summer, not early summer.
Okay, and then it might be finished in 2 years after that?
It would likely be completed by about the end of the year, but it could extend into the first quarter of next year, depending on weather.
For the paving of Telegraph?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
So Jen also responded to that question in the chat, if you want to look at the chat, Carol. Ryyn has a question.
It's interesting enough that Jen is chiming in because my question is regarding communications. I know often when we have construction, the complaints that I would get would be that it wasn't communicated early enough. So I just want to remind our staff, first of all, thank you for your presentation. Fantastic job, gentlemen, and just to Jen as well to make sure that we have that in line should it, whatever happens in the timeline that we have that is properly communicated to the community that this construction is happening within those dates and people can adjust accordingly so that way they can not be frustrated in where they need to be. So just please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Kathy, did you have a question?
Yeah, my question has to do with the lighting. I'm sure Loma Vista is considered kind of a main street that would get whatever the conversion wattage is that SCE uses, but part of Loma Vista has residential homes on it. So would the sections with residences on Loma Vista get the 22-watt lighting?
I'd have to look. I think the question that you're asking is from Hill to Victoria and maybe from Victoria to Day. Would those be the 22-watt or those would be like for like?
Well,
That's
from Mills to Ashwood, well, not quite all the way to Ashwood. There are a number of residences along Loma Vista and even along the college. I mean, residences go all the way past Day.
Yeah, I think between Mills and Day, it would be all like for like. Those are I believe they're considered collector roads. They're 35 to 40 mile an hour street segments. So those would likely be like for like. I know there are some homes that and driveways that front that area, but that's a higher speed area.
Yeah, that brings up another thing. The speed limit should be lowered on Loma Vista. But there is a lot of glare from those new LEDs. So I think it's concerning that residents know what the wattage will be in front of their homes because the way I understand it, is the 29-watt light available? Because when we looked at an SCE document that basically stated what the lamps available for the Evolve fixture were, it's 31 watt and 22 watt and then it goes higher. So is it 29 or 31?
It's 29, and I think that difference is, as John King, I believe we discussed this in one of the previous meetings with John and you, was that was a previous generation of Evolve, and when they update the light fixture, I mean, LED sounds like it's the same over time, but the technology does improve over time. And in this case, the 70-watt high pressure sodium like for like would be 29. Whereas the residential streets were going from not 70 to 29, but we're going 70 to 22. So council made the decision to actually step down on residential streets.
Right. So the document that we found for the Evolve wattage was an old document.
I would assume so.
Okay. Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
So it doesn't look like there's any more questions. I do want to say, Peter, that whenever Public Works comes to speak to College Area Community Council, you guys get the most questions of any city, staff or city group. And I'm always really impressed about how prepared you are and how engaged and willing to talk about things you are. So, thank you from all of us. That we really appreciate your staff and you coming to share all this information.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your comments, and we look forward to some more chances to interact with this community council in the future.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
well, I'll get off and I'll release our staff because I know they both have families to return to. So we'll see you in the future. Thank you very much.
Yeah, see you guys.
Bye.
Thank you. I do want to say hi to Jennifer Buckley. Nance, I forgot that you changed your name, Jen. I don't know if you're still here, but congratulations on your.
Thank you, Barbara. Yes, I am. I'm still here, and apologies, my camera's off, not feeling too great today, but thanks for having our team on. And yeah, I'm getting used to the last name as well.
Okay, it's great to, well, not to see you, but to see your name and to know that you're taking part of this meeting. I want to make one quick announcement before we have Ryyn come up and talk. The College Area Community Council is considering expanding our board. We will be having elections in April, which is our next meeting, and that will be hybrid at CAPS. If you're interested in joining our team, we would love to have you. And you could just reach out to Kathy or myself and share what you're interested in. Generally, we like people to start as members at large so that they can learn the organization. And if that's you, if this appeals to you, again, feel free to reach out to either of us, and we would love to have you be a part of the team. So next, I'm going to introduce Ryyn Schumacher, and he is our District 3 Council member, and he will give us a City Council update.
Thank
Ryyn?
you. Thank you, Barbara. It's Schumacher, and that's totally fine. It happens all the time. I'm going to just speed right through this because a lot of the updates was given by the mayor, and I also want to give some time to our trustee from the school district, Shannon, to be able to also give an update. So I will take questions at the end. I'm just going to go through the 2 council meetings that we had in March. So I'll go from the most recent, and then we'll go back to the 18th. So just yesterday, fresh off the press, we ended up, as the mayor said, that we did our capital improvement projects. We approved that plan, and we added the Main Street Moves bollards. This is just an effort for us to be able to start beautifying the Main Street. So that way we are, since we went down the road of approving Main Street to keeping it closed at this time for looking into pedestrian mall law. We want to make sure that we give the businesses there as much support and love that we can, so that way we can really develop that street into the way that it needs to be, and we can all be proud of it even more than we already are. So secondly, land use. I know how wonderful and attractive that issue is, and I saw all of your beautiful faces just advocating of where zoning should be. I'm kidding. But there was a long discussion in regards to the proposal for the land use from the general plan. Again, this is connected to the general plan that many of our neighbors and also McReynolds and Deputy Mayor Halter chairs, and they did a really great job in putting this together. There was just some areas specifically in, and I'm going to share my screen very quickly so you all can see what the map looks like if you didn't get to see what it was yesterday. I hope I can share my screen. Can everybody see that? Let me know if you can see that or not.
It just says you've started
Not
sharing.
yet.
You might need to pick which window you're sharing.
Yeah, it's hanging.
Hanging. Okay. How about now?
No.
No.
Oh, there it
There
Ah,
you go.
Yes, yeah,
voila.
Okay, you can see it now, yeah?
Yes.
All right,
yes.
so this is the proposed map. There were each council member had some lot of feedback, but for the most part, we agreed with it. I think the only thing of concern is really this Mills Road. These bright purple areas are hot spots, and it's designated as mixed use 6. Now, mixed use is where they are intending to have more walkability, where we'll have residential and also commercial. The only thing that I had problems with this is that there is a tendency to, when it's this high, when it's mixed use 6, in the density of it, to become 100% residential. And so I had myself and Deputy Mayor Halter, and also I had the support of the council to really put a policy to make sure that it is not 100% residential. It is actually there's some level of commercial that's going to be in it. As you can tell from here, you can see that this is part of the mall, and that mall area is going to now be designated. No, what happened? Okay. Clearly, I'm having some technical issues here. All right, that mall area is going to be now zoned as mixed use. There are other concerns too in District 4 and also District 5, out here in the Satakoy area and the Montalvo area. Because there were some comments about food deserts in this area, where a lot of the activity is falling into downtown, in the mall and district area where a lot of the shopping centers are, and then in the farm area and the suburb area, neighborhoods here really have to drive to be able to get to certain grocery stores and certain commercial areas. And so a lot of this was kind of discussed in regards to how we can be able to provide more grocery stores out there and neighborhood centers. So that was interesting. So we did move that along to make sure that though we are moving the land use in the general plan along with all of those caveats to make sure that once it comes back to us, we have those zones and designations changed. As far as our budget is concerned, we did our workshop, our second workshop. We have a couple more, I believe, until we approve it in the end of this fiscal year for our next year's budget. And Barbara and Kathy, we hear you. I advocated for this, so did a couple of other council members, and we wanted to put climate change action into our budget as a strategic priority, because it is on our strategic priority list. So that was one of the feedback that we provided for our CFO, as well as increasing the funding for arts and culture, because there is a need for that, and we are really focused on making sure that we provide for the organizations that are really trying to provide arts and culture in our city. And then as you all may have heard, you've seen it on LA Times, you've probably read it on the Star, and the meeting of the 18th was very focused on the community autonomy, rights, and equality policy, which is the CARE policy. There were 138 speakers, and that was one of the largest, I think, at least as I've only been there for 3 months, so so far it's the largest number of people who spoke at the council meeting. Now, majority of those people are from out of town, we found out. There were a van from Orange County that came out that were holding signs of, well, let me just tell you what the CARE Act is first, and then I'll tell you who came. This was to seek protection for 3 communities: the immigrant community, the LGBT community, and then also women seeking reproductive rights. This came from Councilmember Campos. It was the first policy to go through the Rules Committee, and the Rules Committee, there's a separate process to that. And unfortunately, this policy didn't get a chance to be able to work with staff and not vetted through the city attorney. So the process in which the Rules Committee works is that if a council member is sponsoring a policy, it goes to the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee is comprised of the mayor, Councilmember Duran, and Councilmember McReynolds. There's some issues with the Rules Committee right now because there's already 3 committee members. A 4th council member who's proposing that policy can't be there because then it'll be quorum. So then what happens is that policy goes to the council directly, and that's where a lot of the issues, which should have been handled during the committee, that's where it was handled during the council. And so a lot of the errors and some of the technical aspects of what should have been discussed at committee were being voiced at the council, and rightfully so. There were a lot of really upset committee members that never was part of the process in being able to provide their feedback in that. And so I think there is just the intention there is certainly something that has the right intention. I think there was some level of disagreement as if we wanted to do a resolution or a statement, and then in the end of it, we ended up moving it to staff because I think as we move along with the Rules Committee, the next step is really working with the city attorney to make sure that whatever policy we provide for the city council is something that we can, stand behind and be able to really know that this is legally feasible, it's enforceable, we know how to do it, and it gets the city to be able to understand what's expected of them to do and what's at stake. So we all are very conscious of whatever decision that we're going to be making. And so that was really contentious. That night drained a lot of us. And like I said earlier, many of those speakers came from Orange County, and they were very against both the protection of, well, all 3 of LGBTQ plus, women seeking reproductive rights, and then also against protecting criminals, which is apparently in their eyes all immigrant communities. So the other thing too is I just want to coming up, there's more fun stuff happening at Community Council. I know you all depend on us to provide these reports, but I would love for you to, and I'm inviting you all to please come to the Community Council meetings. There's one coming up on the 8th, another one on the 22nd. The fun understanding of tenant protections will be something on the 8th. And this is really a way for you to voice your opinion, whether you support or oppose it. It'd be great to hear your voice. And tenant protections, as you know, does prevent homelessness. So it is important for you all to participate in however you feel that you need to, and see how we are moving along in being able to protect our renters or work with our renters and also our landlords, so we're protecting both communities. And then just, I'm in public health, as you all know, and I have to do this. Their National Public Health Week is in April 7th to the 13th. So I will highly recommend that you all support our public health department. I'm going to share my screen. I'm not going to share my screen because it's probably going to freeze. But, go out to the animal services department and walk a dog if you can. They always love having foster families as well. Get vaccinated if you haven't done that yet. Do your steps, get your steps in 30 minutes or 10,000 steps every day, really helps the blood flowing. And then even emergency planning, as we talked about earlier, is really important. So there is a certificate for the community emergency response team. So there is a training that's going to happen in Ventura and Santa Paula. It's a partnership between the 2 cities. And if you'd like more information at that, I will send that over to Kathy. And lastly, I do my monthly meetups every month. I have 3 of them. Usually the third Saturday, I shouldn't say which date, but they happen on Saturdays. And you're either going to walk with me in a park and we're going to talk as we walk and get our steps in. Again, got to do the public health stuff, guys. Or you're going to sit down with me and have coffee, just talk to me, and we can just, hammer out what you're concerned about. Or I do have office hours this coming Saturday at City Hall. If you'd like more information on that, let me know. I will send it over to you. And with that, I'm going to pause for a few questions, or should I move over to Shannon to give her updates? What would you guys like?
Let's have people ask you the questions first, because the questions for Shannon will likely be different than the questions for you.
Sounds good.
Who has a question?
First, thanks for being here. We really appreciate the updates. And second, I'm just curious if the council knows what group or groups from Orange County organized that caravan up here. Was that
Sure.
apparent?
They are called the abortion survivors. And they wore shirts that said or they said abortion Holocaust survivors. I think that's what their shirts were called. Bright red shirts, and they're the ones that you would see in front of the Women's Rights March, holding up signs of dead babies. They are not fetuses. Again, coming from public health, please make sure that you don't believe in the disinformation that they are trying to spew. And those images are not even real. So they're there to scare people, and they were actually intimidating people in chambers to the point where some speakers had to leave because they felt threatened. And so I didn't find that out until after the meeting, and I was really disappointed. But I do want to commend our police officers because they did protect all community members to make sure that there was, as much as possible, had safety within the room.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kathy has a question.
Hit me.
When is the care policy coming back to council, or do you know yet?
I do know yet. I do, because I'm the one who helped Liz pull it. I made the motion to work with her and with staff to be able to refine and revise what this looks like. We had our first meeting on Thursday, or not Thursday. That's tomorrow. On Tuesday, yesterday, or was it Monday? It was this week, and it is a lot clearer as to what the city is going to be going into, and that should be coming up, I believe, at the end of this month, so on the 22nd, April 22nd.
Of April. Okay.
Yeah. So I will be working with Councilmember Campos to make sure that what we will be presenting is not just the policy and hoping that everybody reads it. It's also a presentation in where, what does this mean? Why are we doing this? And I just want to reiterate, right? And I heard this, that, states already have these protections that, Commander Brown already talked about, that our police department cannot work with the federal agency ICE because of SB 54. In Iowa, they just passed, within a matter of days, they got rid of those protections as a state. So if anything were to happen as a state, at the very least, we're hoping that the care policy would be able to protect our citizens.
Will it be vetted through the legal department before?
They're working with us, Kathy.
Great, perfect.
Yeah, they're working.
That was the primary issue, I think.
Absolutely. That legally, we need to make sure it's feasible and enforceable.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, we have only about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Councilmember Schumacher. My problem is I saw all your signs when you were running before I met you, and I kept saying Ryyn. And then, so whenever I read your name, I always focus on the Ryyn. So anyway, sorry about the name dysfunction there. Carol, did you?
Yeah, I just want to say that We have 5 minutes left, and the school district's in practically crisis, and we really need to hear a full report from Shannon. I feel really sorry that she's got 5 minutes. Can we at least go over and hear
Well,
what's
yeah, a couple things is, Shannon, we would like to get you on our agenda. And, you know, we can talk to Kathy about getting you on the agenda, but I do think that's an important part of it, but I'm not going to take up any more of your time. So go ahead.
Thank you. And I'll tell you that Kathy and I have been in communications about getting me on the agenda. I'll be here every meeting, whether I have time or not. But yes, so let's talk. We'll start with the bad if we only have 5 minutes. As many of you are well aware, we have had a $13 million budget deficit anticipated. And so this is a result of several things. One is our ongoing declining enrollment. Our district has been in decline about 200 to 300 students every year for a variety of reasons. We also are at the end of our COVID grant money. That money will be completely exhausted in the 25-26 school year. And then beyond that, we had a parcel tax that went for vote back in November that missed being passed by 2/100 of a, it worked out to, I think, about 65 or 70 votes. And that generally provides us with about $2.2 to $2.5 million towards salaries. So we have been facing layoffs, and many of you have attended meetings, you've emailed, and we were facing classified, certificated, and administrative layoffs. And we have a deadline, a legal deadline of March 15th to have pink slips for all of our employees, both certificated and classified. And so we were faced with that time limit where we had to make some decisions. And so we did have quite a few layoffs. We laid off about 200 classified and about nearly another 100 certificated. And we're now at the point, I actually requested that we have more discussion on the classified layoffs. The certificated layoffs, we were able to go through and thoroughly understand. You know, having the experience of the classified helped us to do a better job with certificated, but we really wanted to honor our classified employees as well. And so coming up, we just had one special meeting to discuss classified. We are bringing 9 categories back, which is a total of about 80 jobs. And we will be having that special board meeting on, I want to say it is going to be April 22nd. It is April 22nd, where we'll be continuing discussions and whether or not we'll be rescinding any of those layoffs. There is an opportunity. Dr. Castro, our superintendent, will be having a talking tour. And I urge all the community to come out on March 31st at 5:30 at Ventura High School. And the community will be able to give additional thoughts on what we can do in order to improve our budget situation and any of your thoughts regarding the layoffs. That's that in a nutshell. We are on spring break right now. You might have noticed the schools are quiet this week. We'll be back on Monday. And then in the area of good news, I just want to thank voters so much for approving the Measure E, because you can see on schools all across the district. Major infrastructure going on with solar canopies being erected in parking lots. We've had we're big talk of LED lights. We've changed out all of the lights in the school for LED, which should be a significant power savings. And with the solar, we're projecting about a $2 million energy savings for the district per year once we get all of the solar installed and up and running. We have playgrounds, both Mound and Elmhurst in our area are getting new playgrounds, and they are integrated to allow for all students, including those who have physical handicaps, to be able to come and access the fun with their playmates. And the next regular board meeting coming up is April 8th. And we will be discussing joint use agreements with the city. I've received a lot of emails from constituents that are concerned that we don't have a lot of parks, and that with the security measures that the district is enforcing, playgrounds are not accessible to the community outside of hours. And so we are working with the city in order to come up with a joint use agreement in that regard. And artificial intelligence will also be on our agenda for April 8th. And we have, all of the trustees have attended a variety of workshops on artificial intelligence. And it's a very interesting topic for education right now. So, okay, I think that was maybe 6 or 7 minutes.
Actually, we can go over when Mike Johnson was our representative, he consistently went over. Very chatty guy. So if anybody, I mean, I prefer not to because people, it's a long night.
Of course.
But if anybody has any questions, Carol, did you have questions?
No, but see, after 9, we only have 5 people on now, or 10 or something, and we had 16, and we
yes, quite a few. Yes, and a lot of the people that left are
put the school district on the first 1 or 2 for the next meeting, instead of at the end.
Yeah, we're all for that.
I vote for Carol.
So Shannon,
Yeah.
I am very sorry for all of those
Thank you.
boys that have lost their jobs, and I'm sure it's extremely disruptive for the school district to be going through this. It would be helpful, I think, for our community if you could explain several of the properties that the Ventura Unified School District owns are being considered for sale. And I think a lot of people like me assume that that would help fund the teachers. And now I know that's not correct. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the way education is funded is we have accounts that are only accessible for specific uses. So for example, we have Prop 28 money, which is specifically for the arts. We have the Measure E, which is specifically for improving the infrastructure of our campuses. Even beyond that, we have, there's food services, and that is only available for food services. So there are a lot of pots of money, but most of them are earmarked very specifically for what we can use them for. So we do have 5 properties that we are looking at currently. 2 of them have already been put into the RFP process, so we can get ideas from the community on what we could do with those properties. And unfortunately, the sale of any of those properties cannot be used toward teacher salaries, toward staff salaries. So again, it's one of those tricky areas. It is an area we've had a lot of people who have said this is, something we definitely need to look at. And I just want to assure the public we absolutely are looking at all of those properties to figure out what we can do. One of the other ideas that has been suggested is the potential for staff housing. This would be allow us to retain and be able to get staff. And, you know, obviously in our beach community, we're faced with a housing crisis. And there are laws in California that allow school districts to be able to use those disposable properties specifically to staff their employees. And then in turn, by being able to staff our own employees, it would allow the inventory across the city to be opened to everyone. So
I think that's very valuable because it is my understanding that we have a crisis, but it is for affordable housing. It's not for the over 1 million, it's under 1 million. And certainly teachers, as a general rule, are part of that population. So I think it's great. I will say I was told that the funding from the sale of those properties will be used for the upkeep and maintenance of our existing buildings. And it's my understanding that those buildings are getting pretty old in terms of electricity and plumbing and all those other things. So the person that I was talking to was saying that work does need to be done. And I guess there's a number associated with that. So as much as I would like to go for it to go for people, I do understand that the buildings do need to be maintained. Kathy, did you have a question?
Yeah, my question is Measure E pays for facilities. So what are all the purposes that the money from sales of properties can go to? Is there a list of various things that those monies could be dedicated to?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I don't have the answer to that offhand, but I can absolutely look into that for you, Kathy. I know one of the things that we talked about during all the layoffs was just, you know, can we use it for salaries? And it was not available to be used for salaries. So I would have to do a little bit deeper dive in order to find out what it can be specifically used for.
That'd be great.
Thank
And we'll
you,
get you on the agenda earlier next month.
Great, thank you.
So the other thing I just wanted to share, we had some really good fortune working with the Ventura Unified School District maintenance team in putting trees in schools that have an extremely low tree canopy. So the recommended tree canopy in schoolyards for children for a healthy environment is about 30%. We have 0 schools in the city of Ventura that have that 30% tree coverage. Foothill had about 25%, which is my understanding that they are having 18 trees removed. So that's going to significantly reduce that tree canopy there. And the other challenge is we were told by the VUSD maintenance team that they will not be planting any more trees after our next tree planting, which will be at Lincoln School, because one of their employees was laid off and they don't have anyone to manage the watering. So it maybe as a community, we get together and figure that out. But I do think that tree canopy is very important for those kids.
Yeah, and those are some of the cuts that are on the classified that we voted to, or we recommended that those all come back so that we're able to discuss them on that March 22nd date. Yeah, we would need to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students and our staff and our community. And we just, you know, one of the reasons for the talking tour is that, you know, there are only so many cuts you can make. You still have a district to run. And so we are looking, you know, for all of the brilliant people in our community. And I've received so many emails of, have you considered this and have you considered that? And sometimes they don't pan out, but by God, if a few of them do, then we might find ourselves in an entirely different situation. And anytime we can save people, I'm 100%. So.
All right, well, are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much, Shannon. I'm glad we could squeeze you in. And I really appreciate you being so prepared as well. But is there, I just want to mention just a few announcements. The Ventura Botanical Gardens next free day is tax day, which we will all need to walk under the trees after tax day. There is an event every weekend at the Botanical Gardens, beginning with April. So spring bloom is going on, so it's beautiful up there. April 4th and 5th, we're going to have a paint out. So we have about 41 plein air painters going to be painting up at the hillside. They will have a gallery show and sale on May 10th. So the paint out will be April 4th and 5th, and the gallery show will be May 10th. Everyone is invited. We've got our first ever flower show. It's going to be Easter weekend, and you can go and see a lot of the new plants and flowers that are going to be in nurseries. They're also going to have some local florists like passion flowers and hollyflora there to show you some very cool arrangements and how you can bring plants and flowers into your home. There is also going to be Tomato Mania, which is everything tomato. They're going to have, we thought they were going to bring 300 varieties, and that seemed pretty expansive. They're not going to bring 300, but they will be bringing some new varieties. I think there's about 30. So Tomato Mania is always fun because you can buy a seedling, you can buy everything that goes along with it. And if you love to garden, it's very enjoyable. Are there any other announcements?
Will those dates of special things be on your website?
Yeah, it's all on the Botanical Gardens website. And I think maybe we put some of them on the CACC website. I'm not sure, but they're definitely on the Botanical Gardens website and also on Botanical Gardens Facebook page.
All the activities that you mentioned. Thank you.
All of those activities.
Just very quickly, an announcement. So I work for the Public Health Department in Santa Barbara County. They have a similar program that we all counties have, which is the VITA program, which is Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. It's free tax preparation through United Way. I put the link in the chat, Kathy, for you, and that will take you to the Ventura County website. If you've earned under $67,000 in 2024, you may be eligible for free tax preparation and filing. You can even do it online, virtually with the volunteer tax preparer. The assistance is available from February 1st to April 30th, 2025. So please send that out. They always are looking for more people to assist, and that is a free program, and that is really something that all counties are pushing for to make sure that everybody does their taxes.
Great.
So that is
Thanks,
particularly.
Ryan.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I just wanted to say thanks.
Oh, yeah. So I just wanted to mention I was a part of a caregiver program, and a lot of the seniors used that and found it extremely helpful. So yes, applaud for that. All right, anything else? All right, just a reminder, our next meeting is going to be a hybrid meeting at CACC on Day Road, and we hope to see you all there.